It's Ron Reader digs the universe. I'm Ron Reader, and this is Ron Reader Digs the Universe. And tonight, the radical, lunatic left. Digby has got a good essay up at salon.com right now, meditating on Trump and MAGA's obsession with the so-called radical lunatic left. She reminds us of how excited Trump was during the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests about maybe getting to shoot some protesters, which she then connects directly to DHS shooting protesters during Trump's second administration. She reminds us about the White House's lawsuits against and investigations of universities, law firms, and liberal nonprofits, and how in the wake of St. Charlie's martyrdom has ordered the FBI to go after so-called domestic terrorists engaging in anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, and anti-Christianity. Of course, normal Americans already know that domestic terrorist is simply a sinister euphemism for anybody who opposes MAGA, so this is some very troubling shit. All of this paranoid oppression of the radical lunatic left, Digby then situates historically with COINTELPRO and J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI's dark history of persecuting legal dissenters for decades in the name of anti-communism. And Trump's White House definitely displays this Cold War paranoia style. Good article, check it out. I'll link it, in the text below the screen. But I think Heather Digby Parton misses a couple of key points that go a long way toward explaining our current dire situation. For starters, American anti-leftism goes back decades further than J. Edgar Hoover. We see it during World War I when they jailed socialist leader Eugene Debs for speaking out in favor of peace. And only a couple of years after that, we actually landed troops in Siberia in order to fight against the Reds in the Russian Civil War. Of course, that failed. FDR's New Deal in the 1930s was all about heading off American socialists and communists who were both well organized and growing in rank. The Korean and Vietnam Wars were both ideological driven by anti-leftism in the American political class, which meant that supporting peace made you a leftist and a traitor. It wasn't just government action either. Anti-leftism consumed for decades wide swaths of American culture. We were all better off dead than red. So, you know what all this means? It means we don't have a left in this country now. They killed it. Utterly. Sure, there are some real commies out there who are about as influential, say, as the Satanists or the Flat Earthers. They've got no power. And don't start whining about Bernie and AOC. They're not socialists, as economist Paul Krugman pointed out a few years ago. They're New Dealers, and the New Deal was, by definition, anti-leftist. An actual leftist would be demanding that the government seize the means of production. Nobody wants that. Not even me. Well, maybe healthcare, but that's not so weird given the circumstances these days. The real irony here is that this no-left situation has robbed the Democrats of all the good ideas they used to have. They're just a bunch of professional politicians now without any ideology at all and who work directly for billionaires. This corrupt turn of events has created a great deal of economic pain for the nation over the years, and this in turn has led to anti-establishment unrest, which might have turned left back in the day, but there is no left now. That unrest toward the establishment could only turn right. Thus, we have fascism. So, this thing, MAGA, which freaks out on leftists who don't exist, only exists because there are no leftists. Damn, this shit really hurts my brain sometimes. I'm Ron Reeder, and this has been Ron Reeder Digs the Universe. Join me, Ron Reeder, again next week for another episode of Ron Reeder Digs the Universe.